Bear down, Chicago Bears. La 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 la. Forget it. That was that second preseason game. They blanked out the Buffalo Bills in front of a national TV audience. What does this mean for the monsters of the Midway? We'll give you our thoughtful details and opinions coming up. The Chicago Cubs take 2 out of 3 for the Pittsburgh Pirates as they get set for an important 5-game series against the Milwaukee Brewers, while the White Sox get swept out of Kansas City again. Ugh. The Savannah Bananas are embarrassed the White Sox by selling out their stadium 2 nights in a row. What does this mean for the entertainment baseball franchise going forward? And we'll have old school TV Monday saluting Miss D. Thomas, played by Miss Danielle Spencer, and a whole lot more. The Monday extravaganza edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to another Monday extravaganza edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with the Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. You know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow McGee on the Twitter, X, again, IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We're located at Warr Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give Warr Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're not unapologetically fun. And we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio show, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumbos to build and boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, shout out to our live game. That's LIVE Live Entertainment Game. That's checking us out right now on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube pages at 12:19 p.m. Central Standard Time. But let's not forget, much love to the replay game. That's also checking us out on the replay, also on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto, whether we talk about sports, music, or entertainment. We will always provide.
We'll always provide you with some of the best here on Second City Sports as we gear up for the college football season. As there's some news and notes there about some quarterback changes and such. Also, sports media news as a long time NFL network goes back to the place where it all started for him. We'll talk about that. Also, we'll have a special tribute on Old School TV Monday to Miss Danielle Spencer. And, of course, we might as well kill two birds with one. So we'll also do what's happening for Old School TV Monday. If you guys probably already knew that. And also, Scotty Scheffler does it again. And the FedEx Cup, standings, is his for the taking. Also, some NFL news and notes and so much more. And the Cubs gear up for a big series starting today against the Brewers and the Savannah Bananas. They, sold out crowds at G-Ray Field. We'll talk about that over the weekend and so much more. And even some former White Sox players and managers getting down. We'll talk about that and so much more. But first, last night, if you guys saw on the big Fox network nationally, the Bears, look, they looked good. I mean, I think because I'm sure it's kind of crazy because I've been listening to some of the various, both the sports, Chicago sports radio stations here in Chicago, both the Score and ESPN Chicago, and it's kind of I don't want to say embarrassing, but it's kind of like funny that everybody's already like, Super Bears, Super Bowl, because you know how Bears fans are and Bears Twitter is 38-0. The Bears shut out the Bills. But let's also remember, folks, I know that they that Caleb Williams and the rest of the offense look good in their opening drive. But let's also remember that they're facing the Bills squad that most of those guys will not even be on the roster in 2 weeks. So let's make that clear as well. And also want to tell folks that remember last season the Bears beat up the Bills in the preseason. We saw what happened. So I would say slow down on the expectations there on with that. 107 yards and a touchdown pass for Caleb Williams. Some of the standouts of the I guess if you want to say the back end guys, Tyson Bagent had one TD pass, threw for 196 yards. Eli Will, who could be a guy that could be on the back end with DeAndre Swift, he rushed for 80 yards and 2 TDs. The defense did pretty well as well. Some of the guys, like I said, some of the guys on back end. Andrew Billings, coming back from injury, he looked good last night. Baroniga, he looked good too. So, like I said, I mean, again, it's preseason, folks. I know that these are guys that are fighting for spots on the team. It's just, I just feel like the Bears fans are so funny at times. So, but Sid, what did you think about that game last night?
Oh, good. I thought I was gonna let you hand over the rest of the Bears segment because you stole my thoughts as usual. But I'll wrap it up by saying
Get out of
this.
my head. Get out of my head. So get out of my head, Sid.
I'll wrap it up by saying this. I know, including yours truly, one of the starters to play at least a series or two last week. Well, I thought we were going to get that last week, but Ben Johnson and crew waited until last night to give us that taste for invite to where we expect from this upcoming season. You mentioned Caleb Williams looked good. The running backs, Ian Wheeler looked good. Deion Hawkins, I should say, looked good. But I want to talk about Luther Burden III. As I said during our NFL draft recap a few months ago, the Bears needed a wide receiver that could stretch the field. You saw what Luther Burden did in limited action last night. You saw why yours truly was excited. They needed a guy to stretch the field. You have Roma Duzet on the outside. You have DJ Moore on the other side. They're possession receivers. You need someone that can not just go get it, but make the defense, especially the opponent's secondary, sweat a little. And that's what we saw out of Luther Burden III last night with 3 catches for 49 yards. His longest was that 22-yard reception early in the game. Also, too, I want to talk about Zacchaeus that we picked up from the Washington Commanders. He only had 1 catch for 36 yards. He only had 2 targets, but I think he's your number 4 wide receiver going forward for this Bears team. And if you could put him as a backup returner on special teams, I think that would be great too. But I think Zacchaeus is your number 4 wide receiver. Tyler Scott, I don't know if he's long for this team. I really don't. I know he got some time last night, but I don't know if he's long fit for this team. Now, flipping it over to the defense, I think we talked about him on Friday, LaKeena. We talked about him throughout the training camp. Gavon Dexter, with the lack of production he had last year in stopping the run, it was nice to see him make a play, stopping, holding the running back to a loss last night in the defense's first possession of the game. I like what I saw from him. And also like what I saw from Alsterbrook again, putting up sacks. And now the defense overall had 2 sacks in total. But as you mentioned, with the Bills not taking the game seriously, in which in a way I don't blame them. The Bears defense actually showed up again last night. They really didn't have to do too much. I think if you had Coach Ben Johnson, yes, you're going to have you need some adjustments here and there. But from the overall team perspective last night, you're very happy with what you saw on the lakefront.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you as you recap Bills, Bears here. And, look, we talked about some of these other guys. I mean, but unfortunately, Terrell Smith, unfortunately, he injured his knee. It doesn't look good. So we'll keep you guys updated if something develops here. But on the other hand, though, I think, look, Jonathan Owens, some people call him Mr. Simone Biles.
Don't you do that.
I know. Don't tell him that to his face. He had a decent. He had a decent showing, too. He had 3 total tackles. Also, Ruben Hippolyte the second. He had, a guy that's fighting for one of the spots in number 47 on the defensive end. He had a nice showing as well. So the back end guys, look, like I said, I mean, it's really, interesting to see what will happen here. Now, Tyler Scott, I mean, yeah, he didn't look good. So don't be surprised if he's on that cut line, the 53-man cut line. When they do the final roster spots in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see how that sort of works. He did have a nice day. He did lead the team receiving. So take that for what it's worth. Now, the flip side for the Bills, I know Sean McDermott called out the Bills, but but yeah, you hope that none of the top guys get hurt. You hope that Josh Allen or James White just got some fresh paper, and none of those other guys get hurt because the guys on the back end, yeah, not good. If you're a Bills fan, so you better hope and pray that none of those good that your top guys get hurt. Now, on the Bears' perspective, I mean, okay, look, you looked good. Okay, let's see if you can do this consistently and against number ones. I'm not going to be one of those fans that gets enthralled by putting up big numbers in the preseason. It's just kind of silly to even do that. So, so what's your kind of synopsis of all this?
Obviously, as I said, as a fan, I liked what I saw, but we got to keep it in perspective. The Bills didn't really take that game seriously last night. You saw the first team offense for 2 series, and they did look good. And if you're Ben Johnson, you had to be happy in many aspects or how that offense operated, but you still have a long way to go. You're not going to play your starters looks like this upcoming week against the Kansas City Chiefs in your third preseason finale. So what does that mean? Well, the offense has a 3 weeks, exactly 3 weeks from today, until they host the Minnesota Vikings in their Week 1 opener on Monday Night Football to sharpen out any final kinks and chinks in armor to get this offense down. I want to see how will the backups respond, and we'll get into it more deeply in our next episode on Friday's show. But the backups that were in there last night, I thought they really took advantage of their playing time. They did look good. There's always things that you can improve on, but for what I saw last night as a fan, I was very impressed. So now I'm not going to hop on the Super Bowl bandwagon and all that other mumbo jumbo that comes along with being a crazy fan. But for what I saw and taking it and chewing up the meat and spitting out the bones, I was very satisfied with what I saw last night.
I mean, effort, I think, is all you can ask for, and I think that's what they did. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to get up in arms over the fact that, oh my God, but you look, I mean, you did what you wanted. They looked better than they did in their first preseason. They did win that game, and that game against Kansas City, we know that Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce, we know those guys are not going to play. So I think that's people need to kind of remember that. So, and they actually play that game on Friday, so they have a short week coming up here with this game against Kansas City at Arrowhead. And for the record, the Chiefs are 0-2 in the preseason, so whatever. But yeah, I mean, look, it is what it is with that. So I mean, I don't know what you were thinking about for Friday, but yeah, it's just it's just kind of it was just there. So look, you got guys that are fighting for spots, so it's going to be those third and fourth stringers. So we'll see what happens. But I think for me, okay, Bajan, he's making a case for it to be number 2, although, Keenum was hurt, so we didn't see him last night. But, I think Brendan Brown looked really good too, so he could be another guy that could be in that back end on the rushing side for the running backs in the running backs room. So, okay. Again, that's really look. Burton the third looked good. I know our buddy Mike Berman, of course, he's a Mizzou guy as well. So, he got on me last time he was on, but yeah, I mean, he looked good. I mean, like I said, I saw him do that at Missouri. So, like I said, let's just see once they do this in the regular season, and then we'll see how much progress they've been making.
I know we got a break in a couple of seconds for the bottom of the hour. Kevin Warren, the Bears president, he was on with Joe Davis and Greg Olson doing a broadcast last night. I don't know if you caught this, but it has something to discuss with you on the flip side. And it's something that we already knew, and it's something that it maybe got past most people, but it'll get past your boy. We'll discuss among other NFL topics for the next break as well.
Well, speaking of, we'll talk more NFL as the Browns name their starting QB. Terry McLaurin, well, he's off the PUP list, but does that mean is he going to sit out the season? And a lot of other stuff coming up here on NFL preseason. Also, news and notes coming up right after this. So more gridiron on the pro side. Cut up. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney, Brown. Stick and stay right here on Sports Chicago.
interim CEO McGee will officially ring in the new year.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. This is Monday Extravaganza Edition. You're locked and loaded in real live and live in color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow McGee on the Twitter, X again, IG.
As we continue our Bears discussion and look around the rest of the NFL from the Week 2 preseason action with the news and notes for this segment. If you have any questions or comments for us, you definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. If you guys saw the broadcast last night, Kevin Warren made an appearance in the booth with Joe Davis and Greg Olson, and he did some updates about the Bears stadium situation and a lot of other stuff, which I found it kind of funny that he said that Arlington Heights is in Chicago. No, it's not. It's in Cook County. For people who don't know where Arlington Heights is, like in the middle of you're kind of in the boondocks, so to speak, in Arlington Heights. Mm-hmm. And I heard some people say, well, I don't know if a lot of folks are going to want to go out there in the middle of nowhere for a new stadium, especially as nice as big as that place is, and as big as that as I say it would be. Unfortunately, you're not going to get a lot of people to come on and come in and such. So Kevin Warren kind of put his foot in his mouth last night.
You're in my head again, Miss LaKeena, Miss McGee. But shout out to Greg Olson on the broadcast. He asked the question. I'm gonna paraphrase this best way I can. What are you trying to do as a franchise to keep the Bears in Chicago? Of course, as you mentioned, Kevin Warren went into that mumbo jumbo about Arlington Heights being having a retractable roof, hosting Final Fours and the Super Bowl and other events and yada 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 yada. And then too, he mentioned about having that. He didn't say Metro, but we all know that they have a Metro stop, which is a totally different line, by the way. You'll have Metro lines stop right in front of this new Bears Stadium. Where I come from, LaKeena, I'll have to take 2 trains if I want to get to that new stadium. Excuse me. I'll have to take 2 Metro trains to get to that new stadium. Heaven forbid on a cold day, even on a normal day, if you have any delays, that's a problem. And as we talked about before, too, on the show, we won't waste too much time on it, but I don't have the official statistics, but a lot, if not the majority, but a lot of your season ticket fan base comes from the northwest suburbs, and it won't be much of a problem for them getting there. But someone from that lives in the city, especially on the south side of the city, on the southern suburbs, like we do, that's gonna be a problem, especially if you're driving. Even on a normal day, it could be crazy. But let's just say on a cold day in December and November, and this team is mediocre. Are you really gonna waste your time in a potential weather disasters to go see that team in Arlington Heights? In a way, NFL ticket prices are outrageous for outside of our price range. Are you really going to go to see that? No.
I see what he's trying to do. I'm talking about Warren for hosting Final Fours and maybe perhaps a Big Ten championship and this and that. But folks are not going to want to make the trek, especially if you're in the city or if you live like in the southern, like like you said, you live in the suburbs. I live just near the burbs, southern burbs, and that's going to be a lot, especially even if it's on a decent day, it was like maybe like 40s or 50s, but even still, that's going to be a lot, especially with ticket prices being what they are right now. Do you really think folks are going to want to make that trek all the way to Arlington Heights, which is in the middle of nowhere? Yeah, you got the Metro stop, but you're going to have to go through a lot to get to that Metro stop. So I don't think he understands. This is not Minnesota where everything's kind of condensed and sort of close by. You've got the burbs of Chicago and the surrounding suburb areas, and that's going to be a whole lot for folks to kind of come in. So is it going to be worth the trip? I mean, I'm sure the stadium will be nice when they do break ground officially, but that's a whole different conversation.
He kept saying last night a couple of times that we expect to with the fall session coming, we expect the announcement of breaking ground by the end of the year, which will probably happen. But we all know how the state of Illinois does its business. It will happen, but it'll probably be some last minute detailed nonsense that could have been worked out a long time ago. I know the Bears got the tax breaks from Arlington Heights. I know that Governor J.B. Pritzker, who's seeking out a 3rd term, by the way, we won't get into that part of it, but he's willing to help the Bears because the Bears are putting up some money for that new stadium. But I'm not going to say it's going to be a problem once they put the shovels in the ground, but it's all about the PR and posturing at this point. We all knew LaKeena once we heard about this news several years ago when he got hired that the new stadium was going to be in Arlington Heights. And I said this earlier in that process a few years ago. I'll say it again. Business-wise, it is smart for the Bears to move because they'll get to own everything. If they would have stayed in the city, selfishly, I would have liked it because it's not far on my way where I had to travel to get to Soldier Field right now. But we all know the first district owns everything right now in the city of Chicago, in the area. And the Bears, even if they had built a new, completely new stadium, how much a percentage would they have gotten for the city? 0 or very little. And that's why business-wise it makes sense for them to move to Arlington Heights. You see all that acre and all that land. They can do a whole lot more stuff: bars, restaurants, gift shops, and like they didn't do it at Wrigley Field last year because of the NHL's Winter Classic. But you can host stadium tours. You can see people skate inside that new arena. Have obviously along with the other events with the concerts and the Final Fours and the college football championship and the Big Ten, well as our good friend breaking news, well as our good friend Dave Rebs about that when he hops on our show next week on the Big Ten Network. But all the other events and all the other events, conventions and stuff you could do as well. The Bears will be making money hand over foot. They don't have to quote unquote answer to anybody outside maybe the state, but outside that they don't have to answer to anybody.
Gonna be interesting to see if there's like any other like no last minute snafus or something like that. So again, we'll see. But yeah, it just seems like there's a lot of posturing going on. But yeah, we'll see. Once the Illinois State Assembly returns to session, and I'm sure there's going to be people from Chicago that are going to be lobbying for. Well, hey, look, what about this place? What about that place? So we'll see. But yeah, it's still a lot to be decided. So definitely to be continue on that front. As listen, Second Seed Sports on Sports with Chicago, LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you. Gonna go outside, talk about NFL on a national scale. The Browns, well, they've announced their starter, and I didn't think we expected this would happen, but it is Joe Flacco. The announcement was made about a half hour, 45 minutes ago, give or take, and not a really big surprise. He emerged as QB1, but the other guys, like Shedeur Sanders, have battled injuries. So we'll see how Flacco does. I mean, Flacco actually did lead the Browns to beat the Bears a couple years ago. And he's still doing his thing. Now again, how long will he be the starter? Do you think maybe at some point will he get traded, perhaps maybe to a contender? Who knows? But what do you think about that news with Flacco being QB1 in Cleveland?
Yeah, like I said, it's not shocking, especially given the other quarterbacks on their roster like Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, and Tyler Huntley, I believe, is on their roster as well. Expect one or two of those four guys to get cut before the season gets going. The question is, as you mentioned, how long will it take for Joe Flacco to get the yank and get Shedeur Sanders or somebody else in there to get some extended playing time? Because we all know that Cleveland is not a contention for a Super Bowl. They're not, in my opinion, they're not in contention for a playoff spot. So it's even though Myles Garrett, their defensive star, is back, you still have some decent weapons at wide receiver on offense. The Cleveland team is not even a playoff team. I don't know.
Donald Trump
They're
does.
going to make a
Politician does that. A lot of politicians do that. So let's be fair.
the team.
Young lady there.
It's seeing
It's a young lady there.
Maybe they'll surprise some people here and there, maybe in the first couple of weeks. But we all know that place
next
just like Arch Manning next year's draft. Who knows? But we all know this is a lost season again for the Browns, and this is just another step in that process.
Ah, boy, yeah, gonna be interesting to see what happens in Cleveland. Now, staying in the AFC North, the big news that came out is kind of came out on Saturday. So, let's do this first. Matt Stafford, of course, from the Rams, he returned to practice. There was some concern that because of the disc in his back, and that might be an issue for him. But there was the Rams social media of give them props. He was walking very well, and he was practicing. So hopefully that'll ease some Rams fans' concerns about whether or not Stafford would be ready by week 1. I think it looks like he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, we said this on our show last Friday. As long as you keep him healthy enough to get ready for week 1, you should be fine. But we all know that he's getting older. He's near the age of the big 4-0 in the NFL years. He's well past his prime. He's up there in the senior citizen age. But for the Rams, the expectations are high, especially given the fact that they made the playoffs the last couple of years. You're one score away from upsetting the now defending champion Philadelphia Eagles on the road in the snow last year. And the way their defense performed with some of their young guys last year, like Verse and Bobby Brown, the Rams are up there for this year to win the division, perhaps go further in the playoffs. So the health of Matthew Stafford is very important. Yes, you got Jimmy Garoppolo as your backup, but without a healthy Matthew Stafford, this team is going nowhere but down.
Yeah, and no shade to Jimmy Garoppolo. I know, look, he's hanging on and just got a couple of Super Bowls with the Patriots, but even still, Stafford is as office goes as Stafford goes. So if he would miss any time, the Rams are in trouble. I know. Look, they got Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, but as Stafford goes, so does the Rams offense. And even like I said, the defense has been really solid too. So you got Jared Verse and Brady Fitz, but it's going to be kind of interesting to see if hopefully Stafford will be 100% going into the regular season. Because the Rams people got the Rams perhaps they win the NFC West. So if he's banged up, that's going to be a problem. So hopefully this is the start of hopefully this is going to be the start of something that maybe can get through this season healthy for if you're a fan of the Rams.
Yeah, with other teams lurking with that division, I know we'll get to it down the line. With Arizona perhaps being a surprise team, San Francisco is lurking. Maybe even Seattle can surprise some people. We don't know, but that NFC West division is going to be a very competitive division. You cannot have a major slip, but if you do, you could possibly be out of the playoff spot in a hurry.
Now we can go back to the AFC North here as some big news coming down the pipe for Cincy. We talked about this for the last, it seems like last couple months, but it looks like maybe the Bengals might be trading their sack leader, Trey Hendrickson. Now, again, nothing's imminent, but they, according to Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero, Bengals aren't going to be listening to offers. And I'm sure there are going to be some Bears fans that are going to be writing up their trade machines and such. So, Sid, what do you think?
Should Ryan Post be making calls? Yes. The question is, how much are you supposed to? How much are you willing to give calls in your salary cap space? Because let's be honest here, whether we like it or not, the Bears are one of the few teams that have managed the salary cap well over the last several years. And I don't know, I think it was Mark Pridash. I don't know if you saw his tweet, LaKeena, the other day, the former writer from the Sun Times back in the day. He had a trade proposal, and I kind of liked it, but for me, I don't know if you could pull it up if you have it, but it really didn't cover how much the Bears salary cap that the Bears would have. I know he had a couple of second-round picks and a third-round pick and something else. I think he threw something in there to try to be funny, but the logistics of the trade is realistic. I would do it, but the question is how much your salary cap hit it would take, because if it takes up the majority of your cap, you will be in trouble down the line, because if Rome Duze and or Caleb Williams are the real deal, because both of them came in last year as rookies, they're on their rookie deals, but in a couple of years, both of them want to get paid. Somebody's going to have to go. So Ryan Post will have to take that into consideration as well.
Well, I got it right here. The Bears will get Trey Hendrickson, while the Bengals will get Austin Booker, Dominique Robinson, Durham Smythe, 26th third-round pick, a 27th fourth-round pick. And he added Ben Johnson autograph football, which I don't know if Zach Taylor would like that, but okay.
That was just him being funny.
I know, but you know how Potsy is. Potsy likes to throw in a little snark here, but yeah, that seems like that's a lot, and you're probably gonna need more than that. They're gonna want maybe a second rounder. I would say throw in a second rounder. And maybe the Bengals will say yes. I don't think that's gonna be enough to get him. I just don't think that's gonna work unless you throw in a second rounder. But that's no. I don't know if that'll be enough to get Hendrickson. And let's be real here. The Bengals aren't gonna give him away. So I think people need to remember that. So who among them? They're not gonna say their division. So sorry, Baltimore. I saw some Baltimore fans were hoping and praying that they would get him, but to beef up that front seven, that's not happening. Trying to see who else. The Bills could always use them, but like I said, I don't know what their cap situation is, because they could just give James White some money. I don't think they're going to. If by off chance the Bengals do trade him, they're going to trade him to an NFC team. They're not going to keep him in the AFC. That's not happening. So yeah. So like San Fran, like they're kind of capped out. So I don't know if they'll be able to do that. Philadelphia maybe, but I don't know.
So go ahead.
No, you finish up.
We need government assistance to pay the bills. The 7th district needs a leader who understands what it takes to see your dreams become a reality.
I was going to say Dallas too, but I don't see that either.
What do you say? I forgot you cut out for a second.
So imagine a kid from Inglewood becoming an attorney. Imagine a kid from Inglewood going to Washington, D.C.
Sorry, I cut off. I was going to say Dallas, but they got their own issues with Micah Parsons, so that's not going to work. The New York Football Giants, maybe, but they're not, in my opinion, at this point in time, a playoff team. I was going to say the Commanders, but they got contractual issues with Terry McLaurin, so I would say no. Going to our division, the NFC North, maybe Detroit. I think that's realistic. Minnesota, maybe. I don't know what their cap situation is. Green Bay, they could use it, but I don't know if they're gonna go all in on him. So I think it's more realistic if he gets traded within our division. You don't want to see it, but I think that's a realistic possibility. In the NFC South, Carolina, no. New Orleans, no. Both those teams are rebuilding. Atlanta, maybe, because they didn't get nothing of the Judon from New England last year. Tampa Bay, they could definitely use him, but I don't know what their cap situation is either. So he could get traded to realistically. He could get traded to the NFC South or the NFC North.
An official message from Medicare.
I think Tampa. I think you said Tampa could probably use, but they could definitely beef up that front seven there. Of course, you got Vita Vila, you got Antoine Winfield Jr., Levante David still around. So yeah, I think he'd probably be a good fit there. I mean, those are probably the best. I think probably the most really, like I would say maybe the Bucks, and maybe even the Vikings. Those are probably like the two probably most likely teams that will probably have a good shot of getting Hendrickson, I think.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKeena here with us. We talk NFL preseason week 2 news and nuggets running around the league. Just quickly, LaKeena, as we focus in on a couple of rookies. Cam Warren, who's now officially your starter for the Tennessee Titans, of course. Will Levis went out with an injury early in training camp. He's gone for the year. 2 for 7 for 14 yards over the weekend for Cam Ward. His best pass was a 25-yard completion. Ashton Genty for the Las Vegas Raiders. He had he finished with 33 yards and a touchdown in his last game over the weekend. I'll start out with Cam Ward. I know it's tough right now. The job is his. Obviously, he doesn't have to worry about anybody else on his shoulder. Tennessee is going to rebuild right now. You have a brand new coaching staff. How do you think Cam Warren is going to start off, at least for the first month of the year?
Yeah, I mean, if he looked for the few times that he's been on the field during the preseason, he looked good. But I just don't think the situation with the Titans is actually very good. I mean, do you really think they're going to make a play for the AFC South? I mean, maybe, but again, you kind of wonder, like, will there be? You got Calvin Ridley over there, Tony Pollard, who we can throw to, so they'll make him look good. Tyler Lockett's over there as well. Now remember, they got a decent O-line, not a great O-line around him. But yeah, so he could do well there, Titans wise. It might not equate to wins, but I think he could definitely make the Titans a little bit more competitive. That's all you can ask for there. Now, as far as Genty is concerned, we all know that like Pete Carroll loves using running backs. So I'm wondering, like, this will probably be like the most. I know when he was at Boise State, I know some people say that he was kind of worn out there, and he got worn out during that playoff game against Penn State. But they were able to slow him down. So he's going to be facing a lot of O-line guys. So I don't think he's going to struggle, but he's going to be facing some of the best front sevens in the league. So that's really going to be a thing here for Mr. Genty to see how he does.
Speaking of the AFC South, we'll stay there for just a second. Anthony Richardson looked good over the weekend. He had a perfect 38-yard completion during their preseason game against the Green Bay Packers. But as we talked about last week on the show, looks like Daniel Jones, the free agent QB pickup from the Minnesota Vikings and formerly the New York Giants. Shane Steichen looks like he's going to go with him week 1. I know it's not official yet, but looking inside of what I read and saw over the weekend, Anthony Richardson, as I said last week, his days are numbered as far as being the starting quarterback for the Colts. It looks like Daniel Jones is going to get the start the year for the Colts. This is a big year for them. They've been on the cusp of getting back into the playoffs for the last couple of years. It just hasn't happened because of injuries and inconsistent play via Anthony Richardson. But
they want the security, long-term security that comes along with it.
He looks
what are they going to do? Make a handshake to Vladimir Putin right now?
Nothing wrong with people who
And think that Vladimir Putin is going to be honest. Okay, we
looks like
won't.
he may be the backup to start the year. Daniel Jones would coach this season.
That's not who Vladimir Putin is, guys. And I think
Yeah, I mean the Daniel Jones thing and with the Anthony Richardson, I think the problem, like you said, I mean he's been hurt a lot. So unfortunately, we haven't really seen a lot. In the times we have seen him, he's actually been good. So I guess you would take that as you will. Now, again, it's going to be interesting in that division that, especially because that division is very winnable. Now, again, staying in the AFC South, talking about Houston, I mean, CJ Stroud, I mean, hopefully not to kind of like go through, I don't want to say a sophomore slump, but you can kind of tell that he did struggle, have the struggles he did. He will tell you that they struggled last year. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do here with this. But I mean, I know that, they've made some moves. Nico Collins, Tank Dell is probably going to be out for most of this season coming up. Now, you do got Joe Mixon. You brought in Nick Chubb. That should help in that running back front, especially if Mixon has a hard time staying healthy. Cam Robinson, you got one of the top left tackles in the league. So as long as he's healthy, you're kind of right there in the trenches as well. We know that defense, they had their issues last season, but you got Will Anderson, you got Danielle Hunter, you got C.J. Gardner-Johnson on the safety side. So again, it'll be interesting to see the Titans early on, especially with that early schedule that they have. They got to play the Rams, they got to play Tampa. So that's going to be a tough start right there. That Tampa game is the week 2 Monday nighter, and for me, I think these first couple of games are going to be kind of like a thing of what will happen with the Titans, and that especially in the AFC itself, because they definitely had their struggles last year.
Yeah, the Texans, like you said, that's a tough way to start off. But if you wanted to be an elite team and to improve on what happened last year, even though you did beat the Chargers at home in an ugly wild card game, you had to beat teams like Tampa, who are the defending NFC South champions. You had to defeat a team like the Rams, who are picked by many to win the NFC West and perhaps go on to represent the NFC in this year's Super Bowl. So the Titans, not the Titans, the Texans are really built for it. They just got to stay healthy, as you mentioned last year. LaKeena.
They say that Netanyahu's Jewish roots are European. And
But
his
Joe
real
Mixon,
name is
he was
like,
healthy, as I said,
or something like that. He's really Polish Jew.
So CJ Stroud, when he's not there, the pressure is on CJ Stroud, as we saw last year. Without Mixon, CJ Stroud was a below-average quarterback.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna, like I said, I mean, like he, like you said, he missed that he struggled last year. He kind of went through a sophomore slump. So we'll get, the Texans are kind of a fascinating team to watch out for. So we'll see what they can do this season. Now, as far as Jacksonville is concerned, of course, Liam Cohen, the new head coach there, and Trevor Lawrence, again, really, he hasn't really been the problem down there in Jacksonville. It's some parts of it. It's not saying it's all he made some bad throws, but I wouldn't say it's all his fault that the Jags have kind of had their struggles. Travis Etienne, he has to stay healthy. We'll see with Travis Hunter. We'll see how they use him. That they may use him on both sides of the ball. Liam Cohen's been kind of keeping that to himself, how the Jags will use him, but that's going to be fascinating to watch there on the defensive side. They got a lot of young guys. No, Eric Armstead is over there too. Trevon Walker as well, another veteran. So it's going to be interesting to see what this new look Jags team looks like.
Don't forget about back on the offensive side, Brian Thomas. He's entering his second year. He's one of the best young wide receivers in the game. He had a very good rookie year last year. We'll see how he vibes off of Travis Hunter. There could be a new wide receiver duo in town. Remember, they had Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardle back in the day when their franchise first started exactly 20 years ago this year. So we'll see how that plays out. And Trevor Lawrence must improve his play. I know they gave him all that money and he's not going anywhere, but he still must improve his play. But watch out for that defense because it was ranked near the bottom last year, and in every statistical tech category, that they must turn around. They even have a chance of being competitive this year.
Going back to the Colts, I mean, the Daniel Jones, that's going to be interesting to watch there if Richardson can stay healthy. You got Jonathan Taylor still out there, Michael Pittman Jr. We'll see how mesh with Jones if he does end up being the starter. On the defensive side, that's really kind of more going to be their bread and butter. You got DeForest Buckner over there, Latu, he's still over there doing his things. Zaire Franklin, Jalen Jones. I mean, there's definitely Cam Vine. I mean, there are guys on the squad. It's just that they just gotta execute. And that's really been the big problem for them last year has been the lack of execution. So I'm kind of fascinated to see. I think they're going to be a fascinating team to watch. I think.
Yeah, you mentioned guys, there's some young studs over there on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, we know that Jonathan Taylor is dealing with contract issues last year, along with several injuries. When he got it back in there, the Colts were very competitive. It's just about he'll be in there for hopefully for a whole full season. Hopefully, Daniel Jones is the answer. I don't think he's a long-term answer, but he's a short-term answer as far as the season goes. And if Daniel Jones plays well and Jonathan Taylor does what he does, like we saw him do a couple years ago, I think the Colts will be there to compete for a playoff spot. They almost got in last year. Taylor didn't fumble that ball against Denver, and that's how close Indianapolis was. But for this year, he's got to stay healthy, and Daniel Jones has to be consistent at quarterback. If those two things happen, I think Indianapolis has a shot of being a playoff team this year.
The defense also has a step up as well. And they've got, like I said, they've got the players for Shavarius Ward's over there too. So they definitely need to get their defense going too to kind of make sure their offense sort of, but they may have to lead the way for them. So we'll see.
All right, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 straight ahead, right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you. We're getting to baseball, and we're approaching that time for the Cubs to put up or shut up as they'll start their 5-game series against the division-leading Milwaukee Brewers. The White Sox get swept out of Kansas City. It's time to put those pull those Huggies off and start playing like a real team. The NBA on NBC may have late-night basketball. We'll discuss, and we'll have our tribute to Miss D Times, a.k.a. Miss Danielle Spencer, the TV actress from the old school TV series What's Happening. All that and more. She's taking say on the Monday extravaganza edition of Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
All right, thank you.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Every body in a work zone is someone's somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Monday Extravaganza edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
We're talking Cubs, Sox, and everything else from Major League Baseball from this for this half hour, along with the Savannah Bananas taking over the South Side from over the weekend. If you have any questions or comments regarding those subjects, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. We'll start with the Cubs, as the Cubs get a much needed series win against the Pirates. I know there were some people that that Friday opener for them against the Pirates, everyone thought, oh boy, put the Taps music on, but they were able to save themselves and win that series as they should have. Now they're gearing up for a 5-gamer against the Brewers starting in about 15 minutes from now at 1:20. And I think for me, I think this series is definitely a must series because it's going to be the last time you're going to see the Brewers if you're the Cubs. So you got to have to get it going here. Now, of course, today's matchup, 1:20, is going to be a first of a doubleheader. It's going to be a makeup game. Freddie Peralta against Cade Horton. That should be a fun matchup as well. Also, the second game, the Cubs have not said who they're going to start, but they will face Chad Patrick for that one. For tomorrow's game, you got Brandon Wolf against Matthew Boyd. Matthew Boyd had another good outing over the weekend. And the in that other game, let me get that pitching matchup for that. You got Jacob Mizorowski against Colin Ray, so that should be an interesting matchup there for the Cubs. And let me see if I can get the fifth game for that one, the rubber match of the series. You got Shota versus Quinn Priester. So I think if you're the Cubs, there's really no room for error here. You got to win at least three out of 5 would be ideal. But if you can win 4 out of 5, I know it's going to be tough to do, but you got to take it one game at a time in this sense. So I know people will have the Brewers as the slight favorites in this series, but I think if you're the Cubs, you can definitely use that as motivation, perhaps maybe. And they actually lost yesterday against Cincy, so you know that they finally they got their 12-game winning streak got snapped. So there is room, folks. There's hope. So what do you think?
Yeah, maybe get. Yeah, like I said, maybe you can start an avalanche. Yeah, maybe you can start an avalanche going the other way if you're the Chicago Cubs. But what we saw for the weekend, as we talked about early in the year, the Cubs scoring runs in various ways without the home run. We saw it last Saturday and yesterday. Dansby Swanson finally come through with a couple of RBI on his bobblehead. They featured him and his wife, who plays for the Red Stars for the Chicago soccer team. But Dansby Swanson came through with a clutch RBI. You saw Kyle Tucker do that last Saturday in their series win. In their win against Pittsburgh in that series on last Saturday. You're starting to see guys heat up. Hopefully they'll have a carryover effect. Now, Javier Assad, who pitched yesterday, he was sent down to AAA Iowa. They had to make some moves to accommodate the doubleheader, the roster for the doubleheader for today. So maybe we'll see Javier Assad back soon. We don't know, but the pitching has been okay for the Cubs. The bullpen has been okay outside of last Friday's loss. I blame PCA for last Friday's loss. Not once, but twice he got caught off second base. So you just cannot do that, especially in these games during the month of August. These games are critical, and any critical mistake will come back to bite you, especially as a team like the Cubs. So that was inexcusable. But outside of that, the Cubs, you saw who they really are without using the home run bat, and they had, as we told you guys last Friday on the show, Pittsburgh plays the Cubs tough in Chicago. And if you were surprised by what they did, you haven't been out watching this Cubs team over the last 2 or 3 years. So the Cubs had to sweat and earn everything they got against the Pirates. As we said, they couldn't do no worse to take 2 out of 3. They did exactly what we thought they were going to do.
Yeah. I mean, a sweep would have been nice, but again, that was going to be a lot to ask. So especially the way this team is played. So I think that's going to be interesting to see what they do in this series, because I think this is gonna be, like I said, this is gonna be the last time you're gonna be seeing the Brewers. So I think you better try to make it count as much as you can. Try to at the very least win 3 out of 5. I think 4 out of 5 would be even better. But if you just win 3 out of 5, perhaps maybe gain a game on them, but perhaps maybe keep them on their heels, especially since they lost yesterday for the first time in about a month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of interested to see how this team responds. Now, again, we'll see. But excuse me, but yeah, I think if you're the Cubs, you gotta get guys like Dansby Swanson. I know he had a really good showing. He hit that tie-breaking go-ahead sack fly in the 8th inning to give the Cubs a series win against the Pirates. He needs to step up. Seiya, you gotta get him to step up as well. I know he was also key to that tiebreaker on Saturday against the Pirates. So those guys need to step up too. And PCA, I mean, this is a time where he needs to break that slump that he's in. That's gonna be a time for that. Also, Nico Horner, Michael Busch. I know he's in one of the bright spots whenever they do play the Brewers. Tucker, look, you talk about you want $400 or $500 million. Well, this is a time where you start acting like you want get that payday. So this is the time to do it. So yeah, I think the pitching. I'm not worried about the pitching. It's more the hitting. That's what I'm kind of worried about there.
I'm worried about more of the fundamentals, LaKeena, and we talked about it with PCA just a moment ago, getting caught off second base not once but twice last Friday in that series opening loss to Pittsburgh. It's going to be about fundamentals that I'll be focusing on for this Cubs team this series. You talk about throwing the ball, which is pitching, catching the ball, which is fielding, and hitting the ball, which I don't think they'll have a problem doing. But I'm worried about the fundamentals for this Cubs team. I talked about before, the Milwaukee Brewers are the National League's version of the Tampa Bay Rays. They're not going to beat themselves. They don't have they have a little bit better roster of players than Tampa Bay, but they don't beat themselves. They pitch the ball very well. They hit and run when they're supposed to. They bump the ball very well, and they actually play very good defense. And for the Cubs to win this series, whether it's 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, or heaven forbid sweep the 5-game series, their defense is going to be up to par. No mental errors, no physical errors, not getting picked off base, PCA, and just go out and just play Cubs baseball and do not rely on the home run too much. So the fundamentals for this Cubs team, which I'll be focusing on for the next 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff they teach you in Little League. So we'll talk a little bit Little League later on in the hour. But yeah, that's the kind of smaller things that PCA, like you said, maybe this will be away from the snap out of that. But again, so we talked about the pitching matchups for the Cubs. So yeah, this is definitely a must win series for the Cubs. They want to stay within, at the very least, stay within pace. Perhaps give them still an outside shot. Perhaps maybe making this division competitive. Now, if they can gain a couple of games, get to 6, which is more manageable. Hey, I think you'll take that as you get into the rest of the season because your schedule looks, I don't want to say easy, but it looks promising. And the Brewers, they got a little bit of a harder schedule. So, again, you can kind of maybe shift everything, if you will, if you win this series starting today.
What's your prediction for this series?
Oh, boy. I don't want this thing to come back to bite me. I said they'll win 3 out of 5. I don't think they're going to win 4 out of 5. I don't think they're going to sweep. I mean, it would be funny if they did, but I don't see it happening. So I'll say 3 out of 5 and they gain a game, which, again, I'll take that. If you're a Cubs fan, you'll take that.
To be different, I'll go with 2 out of 5. I know that's going to do more harm than good, but realistically, the way this Cubs team is playing right now, I know you have some confidence going into the series by being Pittsburgh 2 out of 3, which you're supposed to do. But I think it's a little bit more of a bumpy road ahead, and we'll see how this young team deals with pressure now that you have the Brewers in your backyard. I'm going with them taking 2 out of 5.
We'll see what happens when we convene on Friday. As this is Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you. Go to talk some more baseball here. Let's do the White Sox real quick here. The White Sox got swept by the Royals in Kansas City again, which means they do play them again, but they don't play them next week. They're going to be at G rate. So unfortunately, this will be 2 years in a row that the White Sox will not win in Kansas City. Yeah, and which is, I mean, I'm not even laughing at your White Sox, Sid, but the Sox are right there. They should have won that game yesterday, of course. But of course, Jonathan India and Adam Frazier, they had two-run home runs for the Royals as they were able to steal that sweep against the White Sox, and it's just It almost, and unfortunately, the Sox kind of went back to the sort of the bad habits, if you will, just where they were starting to show a little bit of promise they go to Kansas City and just yeah. I mean, they had the hitting wasn't the problem. They had 8 hits, especially in that Saturday game, but they weren't able to get guys across home plate. So that was a big problem in that series.
Yeah, we talked about for the last few weeks on the show. The starting pitcher, minus Jonathan Cannon, who's down in Charlotte, by the way, has not been the problem. It's been the offense has been the problem. It didn't show up in the first 2 games, and it didn't show up. It showed up early, but it didn't show up when it needed to. When it was needed the most, and during yesterday's game, Davis Martin, he's looked good in his last 2 to 3 starts. Yesterday, as you mentioned, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks, gave up 1 hit in 6 innings. The Sox had an early 2-0 lead. That was the victory. I was like, okay, maybe the Sox will tack on another run or 2. They'll go out of there without being swept, but nope. As soon as I saw Jonathan India hit the 2-run home run to tie the game, I was like, this shit is over. It really is. And the way this team has been playing lately, it irks me. I get it that we didn't expect nothing from them this year in terms of playoffs or anything like that, but this year is the year that we're supposed to find out who's going to be on this team next year going forward, who's going to show promise, who's going to be up to the task to get to the next level for the White Sox in this next step of the rebuild. And I said this to a couple of people last night. So the great Bill Parcells once said, you got to take those Huggies off. I know people want to make excuses. Oh, they're young. Oh, it's a process. Yes, we all know they're young. Yes, it's a process. But at some point, you've got to stand up and hold these guys accountable. I'm assuming Will Venable's doing that behind the scenes. I'm not saying he's not, because there's a whole lot more people closer to it than I am that can answer those questions. But at some point, you got to put your foot down and make these guys stand up and be held accountable and say, well, this is it. No more making excuses. No more patting them on the back. Oh, Gianni is going to be okay. They're not 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds anymore. There's a grown-ass men. Even though you're in the major leagues, you're getting paid to do a job. You got to grow up, be held accountable, and go play fundamentally sound baseball. You know what you're supposed to do. Go do it and help turn the situation around. Now, I get it that it's a process, but how many times that you got to keep making excuses for these people? Do I expect a fast turnaround? No, but at some point in the learning process, you got to take the bull by the horns and look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, this is what I got to do better. I know what I had to do. This is my specific job. I got to go do it and not worry about the next guy. Worry about myself and do what I'm supposed to do. Is going to trickle down to the rest of the guys. So my point is that, with this White Sox team, even though they have played better until these last couple of weeks, I don't want people to start making excuses for and patting myself on the back whenever it's a mistake. Oh, it's going to be okay. Don't enable these guys. Hold them to a standard. Hold them to a professional standard. Will Venable and the rest of that coaching staff, get these guys going, and silly mistakes and being lopey-popey is not going to get it done. You're a professional. You get paid to do the job. Go do it and let it just fall where they may.
Sidney Brown, ladies and gentlemen, with his White Sox mini rant, if you will. Now they do play the Braves. They continue their road trip against the Braves starting tonight down there in Atlanta. Yandres Gomez against Spencer Strider. That's your first game on the BUP for tonight. Then you got Shane Smith against, let me see if I get it there, Bryce Elder. That's tomorrow's matchup. And, of course, you got Savale against Hurston Waltrip. So, I know Atlanta has been kind of one of the more disappointing teams this year, unfortunately. But they've been playing okay. So you still got to deal with Ronald Acuna Jr. You got to deal with that group. So this could be another tough series for the White Sox. I mean, I'd say they'll win one, but like I said last week they would win one and finally win in Kansas City, and that didn't happen. So don't take my my predictions at face value, folks.
Gomez, he pitched well last week. And, hopefully again tonight against Atlanta, but it's a tougher opponent in Spencer Strider. I know he's been hurt all year. But Shane Smith, as you mentioned, I believe he pitches tomorrow. Hopefully for the White Sox, the bats can wake up and give him some run support. That didn't happen, unfortunately, in his start last Wednesday against the Tigers. They lost 1-0. But LaKeena, Luis Robert Jr. has to get it going. Edgar Carroll has to get it going. Kyle Till, I like him. He has to get it going. Brooks Baldwin has been swinging the stick okay. Yeah, I know he had a couple of hits yesterday, but the offense just got to be more aggressive and more consistent. I know Chase Mitra is supposed to be coming off I think he's off the injured list now. And so hopefully his presence in Atlanta will give that White Sox offense a boost, because when they click in the way they've been clicking since the All-Star break, even a little bit before that, this is a very good lineup. But when one falls out, looks like all of them fall together. I know Miguel Vargas is trying to get his timing back now since he came out the injury list a week or so ago. But just White Sox just gotta be more consistent offensively and play better, fundamentally sound. That's all we can ask for.
We'll see if they can do that and get back on track. Now, we'll stay in the AL Central as we talk about the rest of baseball now. The Tigers, they take care of business, winning three out of 4 against the Twins. So putting a little bit of a padding there between themselves and the Guardians. The Guardians, unfortunately, just when you thought that they were starting to catch up a little bit, but unfortunately they get swept by those same Atlanta Braves. So
the rematch of the '95 World Series.
Yeah. So again, like I said, I mean, the Tigers looks like they're starting to pull a little bit of distance between themselves and the Guardians. Like we all figured that they won. I know they had their druggers coming back from the All-Star break, so they're starting to find their groove again.
Yeah, as far as the Guardians, as we talked about, they're getting it done offensively. The pitching, I'm not really that impressed by. You saw they get exposed over the weekend. Now with the Tigers, the offense is starting to come around again with Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter. And I know Tariq Skubal is hitting a little bit of a wall there, but he's still one of the top pitchers of the American League. So what the Tigers are doing is that they're being the teams they're supposed to be. As we talked about earlier in the year when Minnesota was having a hot streak, guys, I don't believe in them. And you're seeing it now with them being 8 games under 500, while Cleveland, even though they're missing their closer, they're getting it done offensively. I'm not impressed by the pitching, and I just don't see them hanging around the long haul to overtake the Tigers. I don't.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. Now going to the AL East, the Yankees don't look now. The Yankees are starting to find their groove as well. They sweep the Rangers. As for Toronto,
Cardinals.
The Cardinals. As for Toronto, they beat Texas 2 out of 3. As well, the Red Sox, they beat the Marlins 2 out of 3. So not really any big changes there, but the Yankees are still right there at 5.5 back, but they're still kind of finding their groove. I mean, Bellinger and Goldschmidt, they had a good series. They kind of find their groove against the Cardinals. So what do you think about the Yankees' chance perhaps catching up to the Blue Jays?
The Yankees still had to be consistent with their starting pitcher, in my opinion. Of course, Aaron Judge has to stay healthy along with Giancarlo Stanton as well for the Yankees to even have a chance to sniff at the Blue Jays. But I want to touch on the Boston Red Sox game from yesterday. Garrett Crochet pitched well for Boston. And did you catch that home run by, no pun intended, catch that home run by Wilmer Abreu? Dane Myers, the right fielder for the Miami Marlins, he looks like he had the catch, but the ball squirted out of his glove into the stands. And then Boston took an early 2-0 lead. But as the kids would say, Dave Myers got his lip back in the ninth inning with a game-tying home run, which tied the game in 3. Of course, another home run came about later, which gave the Miami Marlins a 5-3 win. As we say in baseball all the time, it ain't over till it's over. And where bounces happen like that, sometimes you just got to respond. And Dave Myers responded with that game-tying home run yesterday, which sparked the Marlins to not be swept.
Yeah, that was a nice. That was interesting how you get your home run, right? It goes off the guy's glove, but again, that kept the Marlins from getting swept by the Red Sox. So, Boston, was interesting. To me, like I said, they're 5 back of Toronto. Yankees are 5.5. It'll be interesting to see. The Yankees have won 7 of their last 10. So again, they all have to play each other, within the next few weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of this kind of shakes out in the AL East. Probably still a lot to be decided here.
Yep. Speaking of the Eastern Division, let's go to the NL East. The New York Mets, I believe they took 2 out of 3 from your Seattle Mariners, including winning last night's Little League Classic game in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. The Philadelphia Phillies, they take care of business against the Nationals, including winning the series finale yesterday, 11-9. Aaron Nola struggled in his return from the injury list. He was out since May 14th with the sprained ankle. Did not look good yesterday, but the Phillies had enough offense to hold off the Nationals. Johan Duran, the new closer from the Minnesota Twins, who they acquired at the trade deadline, came in and shut it down yesterday. We mentioned about the Marlins losing 2 out of 3 to the Boston Red Sox. Atlanta took care of Cleveland on the road over the weekend, but simply, LaKeena, has come down to the Phillies and the Mets, and will the New York Mets finally put it together offensively consistently? I'm not sure.
Well, remember the Phillies split that series against the Nationals, and now Zach Wheeler's on the IL with a blood clot, so he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, and that's going to be the thing here. But the good news is the Phillies, they got a lot of depth, so they can definitely hold off a little bit. Hopefully, Wheeler won't be gone too long, and he takes care of that blood clot. But if you're the Phillies, you're probably kicking yourself that you split that series with the Nationals. That you probably should have, at the very least, won 3 out of 4, if not swept that series. So you're kind of kicking yourselves there. But I think that, we'll see if the Mets, they won 2 out of 3 against Seattle. We'll talk about them in a second. But yeah, I think the Mets are starting to kind of get it going here too a little bit. But again, they got to do it consistently because they haven't had a good last few weeks. So they do this consistently, then I'll say the Mets are back. But right now, you won the rubber match, down there over there in Williamsport. So we'll see what the Mets can do these next couple of weeks.
All right, the NL Central. We mentioned the Cubs taking 2 out of 3 from the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Cincinnati Reds ended Milwaukee's 14-game winning streak yesterday. They win it in extra innings in the bottom of the 10th inning.
Their presentation.
That was a very good win by Cincinnati yesterday. As I said, you need a manager like Terry Francona that's going to get the team like the young team like the Reds over the hump. They kicked themselves in the foot the first 2 games of that series, with mental mistakes, errors, and playing bad defensively. But yesterday they got a great pitch game, played well, fundamentally sound baseball, eked it out with a great win yesterday, 3-2 and 10. And Cincinnati's back on track, and they in the fight with 4 or 5 other teams for their last wild card spot in the NL.
Going to be interesting there, because that definitely the wild card is definitely heating up there. Now going to the AL West, we talked about the Mariners. They had their struggles against the Mets. Now Houston, they still only a game to have back up Houston because they lost 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. And Brandon Young for Baltimore actually almost had a no-hitter. He had a no-hitter to the 8th, and that would have been hilarious if he had no-hit Houston. But again, that's a whole nother thing there. So yeah, this is another series. If you're Houston, you're going to be kicking yourself, especially if the Mariners do come back and win that division, the AL West. This could be probably a series that can come back to bite you in the butt if you're Houston.
But right now, if you're the Astros, it doesn't hurt because Seattle, as you mentioned, lost 2 out of 3 in the Big Apple to the New York Mets. So for Houston, we had to remind ourselves this is not the same team that won the World Series, obviously, from a couple of years ago when Dusty Baker was at the helm. And so they're led by a bunch of new young guys like Dubon and Jeremy Pena, the World Series MVP from a couple of years ago. You still have Hunter Brown, who's a young stud pitcher that head of that rotation. He's in my top 5 for AL Cy Young. You still have Framber Valdez, one of the best left-handers in the game. So this is a young and hungry Astros team. And we just had to remind ourselves it's not that same team that won it all 2 to 3 years ago. Are they still a very good team? Yes, but we'll see what this team is made of going forward, because they didn't look good against Oakland a couple of weeks ago, and they didn't look good against Baltimore over the weekend. So let's see if they can put it together here for the next couple of weeks. Look at the rest of the division. We know that Oakland's out. We know that Seattle will be the team that's going to be on their heels. Texas, they're mediocre. They're done. I don't have no faith in them. So it's going to come down to Houston and Seattle for that AL West title. I got my money on Seattle right now.
Should be fun the next few weeks in that division. I think they do play each other, I think, early next month. I'm talking about Houston and Seattle. So could be for the NL West crown. So we'll talk about what happens there now. In the AL West, I should say. But now the NL West, we said that the Padres, this series against the Dodgers was big for them. Well, they didn't play like it. Unfortunately, the Dodgers swept the Padres. Sorry, Herb Lawrence, love you, buddy. But your Padres got swept by them. And Blake Snell looking like the old Blake Snell that we saw back in Tampa. he shut down the Padres as the Dodgers regained that NL West lead after losing it early last week. Mookie Betts starting to find his rhythm again. Teoscar Hernandez, he's looking good, and it looks like the pitching is starting to kind of get it going. So, hey, I mean, I'm not saying that the Dodgers, it's their division, but they play like a team that wanted to get that lead back, and unfortunately, the Padres did not play that way.
Yeah, excuse me. To the Padres, Dylan Cease got roughed up last Saturday night. That did not look good for him. On the flip side for the Dodgers, Mookie Betts, who's been swinging the bat lately, had his first hit yesterday with that game-winning RBI in the 8th inning there. So it looks like he's starting to get it going. And Tyler Glass now has returned and pitched. He pitched okay yesterday in his return to the Dodgers starting rotation. So looks like everything's lining up for them right now, as you mentioned. Those two teams don't like each other. The Dodgers play with more intensity than the Padres did. The Padres got some soul searching to do between now and the next time they meet. So the Dodgers, they may end up winning this division, but we'll see what the Padres do. They got to look themselves in the mirror and say, do they want this? And the way they played last weekend, they don't want it.
All right, let's get to the schedule here as we're up against it. The Cubs and Brewers are going on right now as we speak. No score. Very early on the bottom of the first. Houston and Detroit also on MLB Network. St. Louis and Miami. You got Toronto and Pittsburgh. Another MLB Network game, a good one here. You got Seattle and Philadelphia. Baltimore and Boston, of course. The White Sox start their series against Atlanta. And Texas begins their series in Kansas City.
Finish out the rest of the schedule for tonight and for this week. The Dodgers will face the Colorado Rockies. Expect a sweep there. Shocking. The Reds will take on the Anaheim Angels. Cleveland will start their West Coast road trip. They'll take on Arizona. And the San Francisco Giants will play the San Diego Padres. Other series that will be starting tomorrow, St. Louis at Miami against the Marlins. The New York Mets will hit the road. They'll take on the Washington Nationals in our nation's capital. Boston will take on the Baltimore Orioles from Fenway Park. And the New York Yankees will take on the Tampa Bay Rays in their minor league home in George Steinbrenner Stadium down there in Tampa Bay. Oakland, Minnesota. And that's it. So, and a programming note, LaKeena, Fox Saturday Baseball will be on Thursday this week for Baseball Night in America. That's this Thursday at 6 o'clock. Most of the nation will get, Yankees and Red Sox, while others will get Houston at Baltimore. That's this Thursday for a special edition of Baseball Night in America at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on Fox.
And also, that second game of the Houston-Detroit series will be on TBS as they're part of their Tuesday game of the week tomorrow. Cleveland and Arizona, as well as the Giants and the Padres. The second game of that series will be on MLB Network tomorrow. To cap off on Wednesday, your MLB Network games will be Seattle and Philadelphia as they finish up that series, as well as Houston, Detroit. And you got Cincinnati and the Angels, as well as the, of course, finish up the Giants-Padres series at late night on Wednesday night.
All right, that's your schedule for MLB for this week. As you're listening to the Monday Extravaganza edition of Second City Sports on Chicago, Sid LaKeena here with you. Coming back, we'll have our sports potpourri segment, including late night basketball for the new NBA on NBC. We'll have other sports media news and nuggets, and we'll have a special tribute to Dee Thomas, aka Miss Danielle Spencer, the lovely actress from the old school TV series What's Happening. That and a whole lot more. She's stick and stay right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Oops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. It is Monday, Extravaganza edition. You're locked and loaded in live at 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG is SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and here's again, IG.
This is our sports potpourri segment for the last segment of our show for today. So if you have any last minute questions or comments of any of the topics that we discussed thus far on today's show, you definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page, as well as Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. It's almost college football time. The week 1 of the season starts later this week. So for those of you who are probably wondering, like, wait, it kind of stuck up on us. Yeah, well, actually, that's how it usually works. And as Sid said earlier, we're going to have our buddy Dave Repson from the Big Ten Network to preview the college football season, both for the Big Ten and beyond. Again, we'll talk about scheduling and such on our Friday show. But they did release their AP did release their first team All-Americans. And of course, Texas and Penn State lead the way there. Edge rusher Colin Simmons, who I think some people say could be a top 10 pick next year for Texas. Anthony Hill Jr., the linebacker, also the safety, Michael Taffe. And also with Penn State, you got Nicholas Singleton. We talked about him. Belia Ione and Zane Durant. Ione's no lineman. Durant's a defensive lineman, so they've kind of led the way there. But also Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Alabama and Pitt each have 2 players in their first team. So a lot to be decided here. Some of the other standouts: Ryan Williams, a wide receiver from Alabama. Of course, he's only 18, by the way. He is also Jeremiah Smith, who actually made the start of March and come back. He's also a first-team All-American on the wide receiver side. So a lot of familiar names here. So it'll be just see what the series was the season in stores for a lot of those top teams we talked about in the last few weeks.
I know you're not for the coaches polls being released for the earlier the start of the season, but that's what gets people talking, and that's what gets people excited about these non-conference games for the first couple of weeks of the college football season. I'm intrigued, and like I said, we'll talk more about it in depth once we get more closer to it. But the Texas-Ohio State game, I know Fox is ramping up their commercials about it. You saw the game last night. If you were watching the Bills game, I'm interested to see how Arch Manning plays in its first year starting. On a tough road at the Horseshoe. I believe that game's in the Horseshoe. So that's going to be tough for him. Bill Belichick, or Bill Belichick, as we call him on this show, he's going to be playing on. He's still got a few more weeks, but Labor Day night against TCU under the lights on ESPN. So I know many people don't expect North Carolina to do much this year, but it's going to be interesting to see how his squad fares up against a reputable college from a reputable college football conference.
Yeah, that's going to be a thing with North Carolina, how they do this year, and it's good, like I said, that matchup again. We'll talk about that because that's not until next Saturday. I'll talk about the Texas Ohio State game. Like you said, they're already hyping it. So if you saw every other commercial break that they have, every commercial block they've been promoting that game. If you saw that Bills Bears game yesterday, so it's gonna be interesting. Like I said, we'll get more depth into this once we get our buddy Rever back on next Monday. But like I said, there's gonna be a lot of things here now. Could we be seeing some surprise teams? And such, so yeah, that's gonna be kind of weird. Now, what's interesting here, if you saw the news over the weekend, apparently the Big Ten is pondering to jump from 20, like from 16 that it is now that they want to do 24 or 28 teams for the college football playoff. You might as well just go ahead and just make it like basketball. Let's do 68 teams. Why the heck not? I mean, it just seems like, are you kidding me with this? But I digress.
We all know this is about money, but outside of that, why? And if you want to do that, can we start it on Thanksgiving, the week after Thanksgiving then? I know that's been out there for years, but if you want that many teams, you have to start the college football tournament the week after Thanksgiving, in which is going to put the week of the Heisman Trophy at which you're going to have to move the Army-Navy game. I don't know. Those folks don't want to do that, but you're going to have to make some sacrifices here if you're going to expand to that many teams.
Yeah, I just think that it's just a silly. I know it's all about, like you said, it's all about the cash and stuff, but yeah, it just sounds kind of silly that they would move this. But it's just so funny how when I saw them, like, really, you want to do that? All right, okay. How would you do that? Like, I'm sure these guys don't want to have to play. You probably have to end the season, like you said, perhaps maybe around Veterans Day, I guess. And like you said, I know Army is not going to want to move their games if one of them has a chance of making the playoff. You're not going to want to do that. So yeah, it's just kind of stupid, but you know how some people are about the money, but I digress.
Greed gets you in trouble at times, and we're starting to see it here.
Now, Scotty Scheffler, going into golf for a second. Scotty Scheffler, of course, hit if you saw that massive shot he hit in the 15th hole, coming back, he was down, I think, 2 against Robert McIntyre, and he sunk that it was like 30 feet, and it kind of went in the hole. And of course, that sealed the win for him at the BMW Championship over there, just outside Baltimore. He got about $3.6 million, and now he's in the driver's seat for clinching another FedEx Cup title as they do the Tour Championship, I should say, coming up this weekend. So, I know people are already kind of like trying to make him into a Tiger kind of, Tiger Woods and stuff. Because Tiger used to do that, but let's not. I'm sure even he'll tell you not to do that. So, but again, you know how people are. So
yeah, we're looking for that next personality, anything that resembles Tiger's personality, his dominance, and his dedication to the game, and to draw those casual viewers like you're surely in. And we're looking for that next guy. But like you said, who has that is really very hard to find. But just appreciate the great golfers that you have. I hope you can market them in a sensible, reasonable way, and to get casual viewers like yours truly to watch the game on a consistent basis. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. So again, I know I heard the Rays are actually pretty decent for the BMW Championship. I'm sure the Tour Championships will probably be even better than that. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, nice. And again, another win, another $3.6 million for Mr. Scheffler.
Yep. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you on our Sports Potpourri segment. It's our last segment of the show for today. And the old saying goes, you can't go home again. But one former ESPN anchor says, yes, his radio show will premiere on ESPN Radio next month. But tonight will be something special around 11 p.m. Eastern time. Tell us about it.
Yeah, if you saw, ESPN, I'm sure they're going to be hyping this all day. If you saw it on the bottom line, I'm sure they're going to do it here. But Rich Eisen, of course, who made a name for himself on ESPN years ago, he's actually now going to be, he's going to be doing the Sports Center for the first time in 20 years. He'll anchor it tonight. He'll make a special appearance. How how they're going to use them, who knows? But yeah, they made the announcement, and I'm sure they're going to be talking about it. They're going to be hyping it throughout. But yeah, it's going to be so he's going to be anchoring it, and yeah, it's going to be to see how he'll be used, because he said himself he hasn't done it in a bit. So I'm kind of looking forward to see. I'm sure they're going to be talking about his buddy Stuart Scott. Rest in peace. As he's rest in peace. I'm sure they're going to talk about him as well. But should be a very emotional and funny Sports Center tonight at 10 Eastern time here on ESPN. 10 o'clock Chicago time, I should say.
Yeah, who else is going to make a surprise appearance on this show? Will it be Scott Van Pelt, who kind of owns that time slot now, especially after Monday Night Football and big games on that network? Well, Dan Patrick make an appearance because Rich Eisen did many sports centers with him as well. Will we see a surprise from one Mr. Keith Olbermann?
Gonna be very interesting to see what happens there. So yeah, you can catch Rich Eisen's special guest appearance on Sports Center at 10 o'clock Chicago time tonight on ESPN.
Yes. All right. I think we talked about this last week, LaKeena, about Netflix being in the running for the home run derby. I know why they are. I know they got the NFL in their back pocket as far as Christmas Day, but I don't know. That's such a good idea. I don't know that ESPN is trying to get back in now with the Sunday night, get their old package back. But I think NBC and Fox is the leaders of that. I think, as I talked about before with NBC, if they get it, they'll just set them as being the main player in the sports department. And having sports on Sunday nights throughout the year, you have Sunday Night Football. You'll have the NBA starting this fall. And we'll get to the NBA in just a second. But you got the NBA on Sundays following the Super Bowl, and this year following the Winter Olympics from Italy. And then you'll have baseball in the summertime. So I think NBC will do them a service to get that Sunday night baseball package. They'll be great for them.
Yeah, if you saw Ron Manfred during that Mariners Mets Little League game last night, he did say that they want to have it resolved within the next few weeks. So we'll see if those predictions come to fruition. But yeah, I think that the ESPN saw those ratings, that the ratings have been actually pretty good for Sunday Night Baseball. They're like, okay, you know what? Maybe we better flip back around and see if we can get back in the game here. But I find it funny. But yeah, like I said, well, we'll see. I mean, we'll be seeing some of this baseball stuff in some of the streaming networks. But again, we'll see.
Speaking of ESPN, I can't believe this has been almost 10 years already. But the Spike Lee, the well-accomplished Hollywood film director and producer, he did a docuseries on Colin Kaepernick, what he went through a decade ago. It was supposed to premiere on ESPN, but the 411 network said, thanks, but no thanks. Get the hell out of here now. Spike Lee's trying to shop his documentary for a new home.
Yeah, I mean, I know some people will say that do they want to? Was it because of this new partnership, we will, with the NFL? Some people are wondering, is that the case? Yeah, but I think if you listen to what some of the ESPN higher ups have said, they probably going to pass on even beforehand. So again, I can see Netflix perhaps maybe picking it up, maybe Apple might pick it up, or maybe Peacock. Well, when the NFL partners pick it up, that's going to be kind of like the number one question. Excuse me.
Yep. Will we find some answers to those questions? I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Remember back in the day, LaKeena, the ESPN had that TV show. We won't do it today, but we'll do it sometime down the road. Remember Playmakers? I thought that was a good show. At that time, ESPN was in negotiation with the NFL to acquire Monday Night Football. They got it, but they had to drop Playmakers because some of those episodes, it hit the NFL too close to home. And so that's why they got rid of that series. So, but I wouldn't rule that out. The question bringing back to Spike Lee and the ESPN's partnership, and if I wouldn't rule it out, if that was the case.
Yeah, like I said, we'll see what happens here now. The new episode of the Marshawn Sports Media Podcast that was released last week. Sports media insiders John Marshawn and John Allran predicted the streamers will sell their sites on the weekly primetime games that could shuffle, but not enough for the complete migration of the Pro Football to digital platforms. This is what Marshawn said, that we look at the streamers and we want and what they want and where they're going to play ball, or people who should be worried. I'd be worried about the Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football package. He thinks the NFL is going to be on a broadcast for a long time because it's just, first off, makes everyone happy. And plus, also he said it's good business. So he says that he thinks that the primetime games will probably be in jeopardy, like with Netflix, YouTube, and they're making a push for those primetime games. And they could, and the afternoon stuff could keep it. Also, Ari also agreed and said that to keep. He even said that Ari also said that agreed with Marshawn saying that both CBS and Fox will keep their afternoon packages into the 2030s. So he said those are probably the 2 6 packages probably there. Now it's really going to be the prime time, so it's really going to be in jeopardy. What do you say?
Yeah, we all know that, especially with linear television, anything that makes money, that's live sports, and with those prime time games, it's going to come at it with a heavy price tag. The question is, who's going to have the moolah, as the kids would say, to pay for that prime time package to carry it? Because the NFL is the number one sport in our country right now, and the NFL is expanding it to playing games globally. And if you have those games in prime time, people are going to watch.
Now, if you take off linear to take it to streaming, that's going to be, you're kind of like losing a lot of your prime time numbers. So some of the top 10 games, some of the top 10 programs this past TV season were, most of them, I would say about half of them were NFL football games on Sunday night and on Monday nights, when they would simulcast. So I don't think the network's going to want to get away from that either. So I think if you're for good business sense, I think if you're the NFL, you want to try to keep it. Maybe do a simulcast thing where you have it like on the linear television. If you want to stream it on Netflix or YouTube or Amazon or Peacock, then you'll have a chance to do that, because NBC already streams they're sending that games on Peacock anyway. So again, I don't expect any major change with that, but again, we're a few years down the road here, so we'll see.
Yeah, like I said, it'll probably happen later rather than sooner. And we talked about it on the show before, especially with our girl Christine Manica. There's already about a bunch of streaming services out here, and then people are paying premiums just to find and watch their games. And you're going to put some of those games exclusively on streaming services. You already have Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. You already have a playoff game on Peacock. I think you'll have another game this year on playoff game on Amazon Prime as well. So, you have all these streaming services. You got to pay just to watch your games. The average American is getting priced out here, so I hope the NFL is very careful about this.
And also with Peacock just raising prices, it will now be $11 starting next month. So they better be careful how. Yeah, so they better be careful how they market this. Well, like I said, we're a few years away from this happening, if it does happen. But I really don't expect anything like status quo. I just think that if they want to do good business, I think keeping the packages on linear television for right now is their best bet. But I'm just, like I said, that's just me.
All right, one more topic before we close out today's show. Before we close out with Old School TV Monday, did you read and see about this? Hear about this last Thursday during the Minnesota Twins pre and post game shows? Of course, their games are being produced by MLB Network, and the fans started chanting "Sell the team." Of course, the Pohlad family, after Carl Pohlad passed away during the offseason, the family has put the team up for sale. Had put the team up for sale, but after all the acquisitions at the trade deadline, they decided not to sell, making many Twins fans upset, and rightfully so. We were made to believe that there was a new partners that were coming in town. Of course, there's a Chicago connection because of the Ishmael brothers. They were interested in ownership of the Minnesota Twins. They were redirected to Chicago. Now they're going to be joining the White Sox soon, not to the too distant future. LaKeena, Twins fans made their voices heard, and they got heard, and it made such a buzz last Thursday on social media.
Yeah, they released a statement on Saturday morning, and basically saying that well, it was a long statement, so if you couldn't read it, I don't blame you, because it was a long statement, so like 3 pages. But it's kind of interesting because the Ishmael brother, Justin Ishmael, was supposed to in conjunction with him, they told him no, so he ended up, of course, we saw with the White Sox and stuff. So it's kind of unfortunate that, because the Twins have been right there in contention the last 2 years, but they don't want to spend the money. So it's kind of crazy that that they would release that statement. But yeah, I mean, that's not going to go over well with Twins fans. It just won't.
And let's not forget, folks, the Twins are $400 million in the hole, and they lost their contract with Bally's, now FanDuel Sports, after the conclusion of last season. So that payroll is not as high. They had to slash payroll. We saw that happen at the trade deadline. And Twins fans, I know they think they deserve it, which they do, but for Polaz to lead people down the wrong path, that's just kind of dirty, in my opinion.
All right, one more before we we go to Old School TV Monday. The NBA coast to coast, perhaps maybe this fall. Of course, we talked about the schedule that was released on Thursday. Now, games are scheduled for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday night, specifically coast to coast Tuesday, which will feature double headers with the second game starting at 10 o'clock Central Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So that makes a change. Of course, when it was on Turner, it was at 9:30 Central Time. Now it's going to start at 11 Eastern, 10 o'clock Central / Chicago time. So I guess to accommodate the Pacific time and Mountain time zone, the West Coast games, if you will. Do you think this is going to go over well with folks?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. Now, does it work out as far as my 9 to 5 schedule? Yes, at least I get to see at least some of the end of the first half and most of the second half. But after that, I know those NBC affiliates, especially here on the Midwest and on the East Coast, you'll get to see the late night news at midnight, sometimes at 1 o'clock in the morning our time. You think? Shout out to Allison Rosado. I think she celebrated her anniversary last week. Working at ABC by Chicago over 35 years. Congratulations to her. But congratulations to her. But if you're Allison Rosati, I'm just saying this in conversation purposes, of course. Do you really want to stay up on Tuesday nights doing the meet in winter, doing the Tuesday news at 1 o'clock in the morning? No.
Well, yeah, Steph Holt, of course, if you know his dad, Lester Holt, did the news here. Of course, he does. He's been in a lot of great stuff at NBC. I don't think he would probably want to do it either. He's got 3 young kids, so I don't think he's going to want to be up at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning after that second NBA game to do the news. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to go over with a lot of the affiliates on the East Coast. I just don't know. It ain't happening.
Yeah, I'll just run out some of the schedule here as I have my phone now. If they could ever flip and load. Tuesday, November 4th, LaKeena. Here's your Peacock NBC doubleheader. 7 o'clock, Orlando at Atlanta. Okay, I'm rushing my TV for that one. And at 10 o'clock our time, the OKC Thunder at the LA Clippers. Great matchup, but you put it on at 10 o'clock?
Yeah. No. Yeah. At least when Turner had it, 9:30, it was a more reasonable. I mean, the games go by quick, and they still be over by midnight, so you didn't have to worry about that. So I don't know what NBC's mindset is doing this, but
let's see. I gotta find another one here real quick. We're doing this live, folks. LIVE live. Not December 16th. Let's see if we can. Tuesday, December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. Here we go, December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. First game, 7 o'clock on ABC Peacock. Denver at Dallas. Okay. At 10 o'clock, the Rockets at the Clippers. Kevin Durant versus Kawhi Leonard, if he's still healthy by then.
Okay. I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, look, right before Christmas, you got assuming that a lot of people will be on their winter break or Christmas vacation by then. Since of course we know that Christmas is in the middle of the week this year, so that could work. I said could.
I'll give you one. Yeah, I'll give you one more. January 6th, Tuesday again, at 7 o'clock. Miami at Minnesota. No more Jimmy Butler. I hope someone told them that, but I digress. And at 10 o'clock, Dallas at Sacramento.
Oh Lord, yeah.
I'll rest my case.
Yeah, I'm going to be racing for that. I'm going to be racing for that, watching that game, but okay.
Oh, boy. They'll be losing a whole lot of people that night, even though we're getting to the heart of winter. All right, you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you. Let's transition over to Old School TV Monday. We'll salute what's happening, the 1970s television series, of course. For those of you that are out of the loop, the TV actress Miss Danielle Spencer, who played the younger sister Dee Thomas. She passed away last week at age 60 to cancer. She did a lot of stuff away from Hollywood after the What's Happening series. She was a big advocate for animal rights and things along that line, doing a lot of community work. She did a great job on television. She was everybody's favorite TV sister, and she really brought her personality to the small screen. And there were other characters on that show. They were memorable, like the late Shirley Hemphill's character, Raj, and the late mama, the person who played their mother of the show. But Dee really stuck out on that show, and that's what really made that TV show so special.
Yeah, she was only, I think, like 9 years old at the time when they did that series, when they first started doing that series. And she had a rough after the show started. Of course, she lost. She was in a car accident. She lost her stepfather, who helped her get into the business. She had to go through multiple surgeries during the early part of that second season, and she had cancer beforehand. And also, of course, before she did this latest bout with cancer, she was taking care of her mom for a few years as well. So she had it kind of rough, but she did become a veterinarian. So good for her. Like I said, she became an animal rights activist after that. So she was able to find a purpose after the show ended. Now we're going to do the original series. We're not going to do What's Happening Now. That was she only appeared, I think, for like 10 episodes during that series run. So we'll do that show at some point for Old School TV Monday. We're just going to stick with the original here from the 70s. Now, I'll say this, one of my favorite episodes, no doubt, was the Doobie Brothers one. That still sticks out to me. And that was
taking it to the streets.
Yeah, and of course she was great during that, but that kind of made her part a little bit bigger there. Thanks that she got older. And of course, remember when Rerun got into that cult with the head of lettuce? That was another
yes,
that was
yes.
That was hilarious. When Dee did that good burger, that burger.
Yes, yes. That's my favorite one. Yeah, she tried out all these burgers, and she gave the director a piece of her mind. I'll just put it kindly. Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah, called it horse meat. Like what? Like a horse meat? Like I'm not eating horse meat or something like that. It was just hilarious as you know what. But yeah, but there was some trouble behind the scenes. If you guys watched the TV One Ong Sung episode, you saw that Fred Berry, who played Rerun, try to get $1 million deal, and of course Mabel King, who played the mom, she unfortunately saw her role kind of diminish as the series went on. She wanted her role to be bigger. She wanted to have love interests and such, but they told her no. And of course, she was basically written out later in the second season, unfortunately. And Shirley kind of became like that aunt kind of figure, big sister auntie role, and that that's why we saw her
kind of what Good Times did with Walona Woods when Esther Roll had contract disputes before they brought her back. We'll get to Good Times at some point down the road, but yeah, they're kind of the same thing.
Yeah, because of course Shirley ended up moving in with Raj and Dee and within their house as their boarder. So of course that kind of but also like I said, I know Ernest Thomas still acts occasionally. I think he's a city councilman now. I want to say I know Haywood Nelson, who played Dwayne. He's now the careers, but he also has been done a lot of acting as well. So those two, unfortunately, they're still they're now the only two original members that are still with us. So, but yeah, I think that this show was really good. It was based on Cooley High. Of course, you guys remember we did that for a while back for Old School TV Monday a while back, and that kind of was the antithesis of the inspiration for the series, What's Happening, and the irony is that Ernest Thomas was almost 30 when he did it, playing a 16-year-old. So again, it's the days, folks, but But yeah, Debbie Morgan, of course, she's been around a long time. She had a recorded role on that show for the first couple of years. And yeah, there was a lot of standouts from that show too. You just wish that it had stayed on a lot longer, but again, that's a different conversation. But yeah.
Yeah, other guest stars to appear on the show. You mentioned the Doobie Brothers actress Chip Fields. The last name sounds familiar. That's the mother of Kim Fields, who did Facts of Life. I think we did that show. Didn't really keep Old School TV one. I believe we did.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Of course, the dance. Okay, and of course the dance group, the Lockers, which Rerun was a part of. Going back to Soul Train. And of course, actor Tim Reed appeared as Dr. Claymore in the episode Is All in Your Head. The late Irene Cara. As remember, she played the immigrant and she
Yeah,
wanted to marry.
married.
rerun
Yeah,
to,
Mary rerun. Yep.
yeah, so to stay in the country.
Yeah.
Musician and actor Slim Galliard.
Yep.
Know the jazz singer Bill Henderson and
Mhm.
actor and comedian John Witherspoon.
Ah, yes, and I think Tim Ray, that was one of his first big roles. I think it was like a year before he landed WKRP. So yeah, I remember that episode. That and you could actually watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you can watch a lot of the episodes on TV One, if I'm not mistaken. But if you want to stream it, it's on Tubi and Plex. Those are free, and I think they're also on all of them are on YouTube as well.
Yes. So we pay tribute to the late great actress Miss Danielle Spencer and salute the old school TV show TV sitcom from the 70s, What's Happening. LaKeena, take us home.
Oh, real quick though, before I do that, did you like the character of Earl and Little Earl and Big Earl? Did you like that? Did you like those characters when they came in? Be honest. Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. Oh, and what about that brother? And what about the brother that played the basketball star that Raj was tutoring? Did you like his character?
He was okay. I'm not gonna bag on him for that, but the other two you just mentioned, I can do without that.
Yeah, because you learn. Yeah, you can tell that they were kind of losing their footing at that point in that third season. So I think if that show had actually been brought back for a fourth season, I don't know what direction they could have went. I don't know, but we'll never know.
Yeah, things happen for a reason. Some things we just gotta accept, and some things we'll never know.
Yeah, that's true. Now on that note, you can find McGee McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sidney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80, SIDKID80, SIDKID80. Be sure to download the Sports Zone Chicago app. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We're at Located War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media and all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports Live in color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports Live in color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And if you miss this segment, as you know, we do Old School TV Monday or any other things, if we have a guest on once we do our picks again with Christine Mack from KXRB, no worries, you can catch the replays anytime, anywhere on Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube channels. Again, replays. You can catch replays of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellas, What's Up Cousins, so much more. You can catch all the Sports Zone Chicago's great content on the Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
Excuse me, and we'll enjoy the WNBA, of course, as I think the Sky play tomorrow night. And also, if you're in the Little League World Series, that contains, unfortunately, the Illinois team unfortunately got eliminated yesterday by Hawaii. Sorry. Great job, Clarence Hills, though, guys. You guys.
Yeah, we'll still give them a hand. Yeah, we'll still give them a hand.
Yeah. You guys were terrific. So, but yeah. Of course, you can catch the rest of the Little League World Series on ESPN throughout the week as they wrap things up here as we get into the international and American finals and so much more. Of course, the baseball and such as we'll preview some of the few college football games that are going to be on Friday's show. But with that said, for Sid, I'm LaKeena with Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you guys on Friday.
Holla!